Hello, my name is Bill Stinnett. I'm presenting Part 2, The History of the GMO Controversy in the U.S. Starting with the Neolithic Revolution, it is difficult to argue against the innocent beginnings of genetic modifications of foods when early farmers selected seeds with traits that were most desirable for human production. In this way, all domesticated plant species have been modified by human influence, at least to some extent. Take, for example, corn, which with human assistance has spread across the globe as indicated by the map in the upper right-hand corner. According to food allergy researchers, the composition of the food supply has been changing for thousands of years as humans first cultivated wild grasses as sources of grain and bred domesticated animals for the production of meat and milk products as food sources in Central Asia. Public opinion about chemical companies has since evolved, causing an international objection to GMO foods in recent years. In the early 1990s, as the first Bush administration developed laws protecting food producers, Monsanto figured out a way to profit from the genetic modification of cows by developing RBGH as a growth hormone to increase milk production. Although touted as safe by industry studies, this chemical has since been associated with negative health consequences. It is incidents like these that have caused public outcry and distrust over the GM industry. In a country that has championed freedom of speech as a fundamental human right, corporations are now allowed, with these new laws, to combat the spread of information, such as by suing for anything considered by corporate lawyers to be defamation. Oprah Winfrey was the first victim of these new agricultural disparagement laws. She won her case in Texas in 1992 after being charged with defaming beef for informing her audience about mad cow outbreaks that have periodically occurred in the U.S. Her right to freedom of speech came at an enormous price tag of $2 million spent in unrecoverable legal fees. As populations have become more aware of the chemical risks from foods engineered to be doused in poisons, they have become less accepting of GM technologies. The outrage that started in Europe in the 1980s, where several countries passed outright bans on all importation of GM crops and seeds, this has since spread to become an international phenomenon, and that's so extreme that there have even been studies that have been produced that find that American consumers, to a lesser extent than European consumers, will pay substantial premiums for products labeled as non-GMO, just for the potential of avoiding risk. In Hawaii, the statewide bill was proposed in 2013 by Margaret Willey to ban all GMO crops from the island, and although popular in its origination, it was unable to succeed against industry lobbyists. Other efforts have included Vermont, who have attempted and passed laws to ban all GMO products in their state, and these have been overturned by the Obama administration in 2016. And since then, there have been other Senate laws to further support the lack of a requirement for GM companies to label foods in the United States. This, of course, has caused much backlash in public opinion, and as originally utilized as a weapon against communism during the Green Revolution, the decline in GMO confidence has mirrored that of the U.S. Regaining public opinion may be an impossibility merely for the sake of the deception that has so far occurred. As military debacles in Vietnam, Iraq, and Syria have altered America's place on the global stage, the 2010 appointment of Monsanto's Vice President Michael Taylor to the head of the FDA in the Obama administration has sounded alarm bells and sparked international protest movements. The potential benefit of responsible GMO use exists, that there is evidence of this, but without the component of public acceptance, even beneficial GMO technologies may be permanently put back on the shelf. Thank you very much.
My name is Connor Lynch, and I will be discussing genetically modified organisms, or GMOs as they're more commonly known, and the modern farmer. Modern day battle against GMOs is one that is hard fought all over the United States and the world, with the fight over their widespread use in the agricultural industry raging harder than ever before. Though historically there have been issues with both the Green Revolution fighting for agricultural change and major companies trying to cover up agricultural problems, the modern day battle seems to have increased tenfold from these historical debates. The first time I myself ever heard of the serious repercussions of genetically modified crops was a Vice News special on HBO in 2016, in which Vice goes deep into the world of the genetically modified organism. They seem to be the gateway into the ever-changing battle for and against GMOs and is now an almost unavoidable subject in the media every day. Scientists who are against GMOs argue that they are a major problem because we are losing our seed diversity, and as a result are setting the human race up for a global agricultural collapse as our environment continuously changes around us. However, the scientists who work for the major genetically modified organism companies, such as Monsanto, argue that without GMOs we would not be able to feed the ever-exploding global population, and thus so must plant even more GMOs to meet the ever-growing demand. The question here really is, can we feed the world without GMOs? And if so, why are farmers planting more and more GMOs despite blowback from the public? The answer is clear. You buy the more reliable seed with better guarantees for yield and profit. As a farmer, it is strictly a business decision. This is exactly why farmers chose to buy and grow GMO crops as opposed to growing organics. The American Farm Bureau even reports on its website the advantages of growing GMO. With higher yields, higher profits, pesticide resistance, and more reliable crops as a whole, all mentioned as reasons why farmers should be going and growing GMO. Interviews with other farms found the advantage of going GMO are felt everywhere, and even the Amish are in fact now growing GMO crops because of the business standpoint advantages. However, just because GMOs are more reliable and profitable to the farmer does not necessarily mean that they have been proven good for the public who consume them. There has been strong scientific evidence that the herbicide Roundup, which the Monsanto GMO crops are resistant to and are all sprayed with, could have significant health risks to human consumers. It has been found in a lab setting that certain chemicals found in Roundup that is sprayed onto our food can poison and even kill human cells. There is also evidence from animal-based lab studies that the consumption of an entirely GMO diet can lead to major health concerns, including fertility issues, dermatology issues, and even death. Due to this, there has been an outcry for companies and the World Health Organization to enforce stronger mandates, better testing by the chemical companies, but thus far little progress has been made. As a result, now countries such as Germany are banning genetically modified organisms as a whole. Both growing and selling is illegal in Germany. And states, such as Oregon, are pushing for mandatory GMO labeling on foods in grocery stores so that the public can be aware of what they're consuming. As the pressure for safe GMOs builds, the world still needs to eat, and farmers still need to keep gas in the tractors. Thus so, only time will tell where GMOs and the agricultural world as a whole are headed.
Hi, my name is Diego Ramirez, and I'm here to talk about the future of GMOs. Dustin Gorder is a sixth-generation farmer in North Dakota. His family has seen every change to farming since day one, such as getting into big machinery and the introduction of GMOs. Gorder took over the farm in 2010, and the challenges now are how to get even greater yield from the land to feed a growing population that is expected to grow double in food demand by 2050. At the same time, he has to deal with the effects of global warming and higher fuel costs. Gorder is a fan of GMO crops. He thinks it's a good direction for food production and for providing for his family. But there are others that are fighting GMO crops because of their fears of negative effects on health and businesses controlling all of our food production in the world. With CRISPR, the next generation of GMO crops, that's all changing and fast. One of the issues with GMO foods is that it's never been resolved if it's healthy for us to eat. Scientists still don't know for sure if changing the DNA by adding things like viruses, bacteria, and pesticides is good for our health. Some of the health dangers of GMO food could be organ damage, increase in allergies, and infertility. Animals given a choice between GMO food and non-GMO will rather eat the non-GMO food. Another big issue with GMO food is how only a few businesses are controlling all food by putting a patent on our DNA sequence they've developed. If all of our food sources, including seeds, is in the hands of just a few mega businesses, they will control the entire world, including our government. Governments are stepping in and ruling for it and against GMO. Europe has banned GMOs for humans, but not for animals. Russia has banned all of it and will grow their own non-GMO food. Overall, there are 28 nations that grow GMO foods, while 36 nations prohibit cultivation. Labeling GMO foods has become a big issue as well. Monsanto has tried to stop regulations about GMO labeling in the US and other countries. That's because they know many consumers are against it and their products won't get carried in certain stores, such as Walmart. These challenges make continuing the development of GMO foods harder and harder. In 2013, a new technique was developed called CRISPR. Instead of adding things to the DNA, it edits things out with a simple snip of the DNA. Similar to GMO, it is being used on insects such as mosquitoes, plants to improve droughts, and medicines for curing anything such as chronic illness. Can CRISPR dodge the GMO blocks? For starters, nature already uses a similar technique when fighting off certain viruses or bacteria that already feels more natural. It can be used on non-reproductive genes that is not passed down genetically. Best of all, it's very precious, targeting only what the scientists want to target. It doesn't convince people of GMO foods at the future, it starts a whole new conversation. CRISPR is extremely fast and to create, especially compared to GMO biotechnology. The first CRISPR crop will be introduced in 2019. In this rapid changing world, our rate of response must also be fast, and other great advantages is how much cheaper it is from the GMO research. The other question of who will control the patent is still being decided. The two key players at the moment are UC Berkeley and MIT. It's all being decided in a special patent court that will probably take years. Was it a true invention or discovery of something already existing? That will be a big question in the future. In conclusion, I feel CRISPR is going to be the only conversation in the future, as it will get around all three GMO blocks of health, control of product, and economy. This technology is going to be available to anyone soon, and no one is going to wait while they figure out the patent. For the farmers such as Gorder, they don't care about the controversy around GMO food. They want what they've always wanted: large production, a long planting season, good weather, and healthy profits.